Welcome to the American Made and Paid Show, the home of free speech and independent thought.
The big story is freedom of speech is really in trouble. The far left knows that at any time they can call for a sponsor boycott of anyone they despise.
It is right here, right now, where you'll get your weekly dose of unfiltered truth.
It's non-negotiable. Pre-existing conditions will be protected. This president has said this as a candidate.
Insight.
Very few people I know could have handled it. We can never, ever let this happen to another president again.
And information that challenges the American way of life.
All right, guys, welcome back to the American Made and Paid Show. I am your host, Zach King. I got Professor Dreg with me as usual. And, you can always consider this place to be the unfiltered truth of free speech, because that's just what it boils down to at the end of the day. I mean, I could sit here and peddle news and politics and read off the Drudge Report like Rush Limbaugh and Mark Levin, but, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, but everybody does that. That's insane.
Everyone does that, right?
Everybody does that.
It's like, I mean, and to be honest with you, I don't even know how to read the Drudge Report. It kind of just looks like, hey, respect to the Drudge Report, but I don't know how to navigate it. It's like, oh, well, this is what's happening right now. We got 100,000 illegals heading over here. It almost feels like it's just kind of it's very archival. It looks very old-fashioned, kind of like a GeoCities website, which I'm not insulting the Drudge Report, but that's kind of the idea it gives off. It's just like, you know what? I'm just going to throw some links up here. Feast on that.
But that's the thing. It's like everybody, and that's why I like focusing on the streets, because like the streets is real life every day. Yeah. And the Drudge Report, I mean, geez, I've only been on it twice. So, but yeah, because you go on it, it looks like Craigslist.
It does.
Craigslist is like, oh man, I'm thinking, there's no pictures or anything, just a bunch of words you want to read through, and I can't really see like the way I used to. So I'm like, I gotta read this.
I think what Matt Drudge has done over the past few years, if not couple decades, is great. But it's hard for me to navigate. So that's not what I'm doing here. The key of this show is to just give you guys the unfiltered truth when it comes to just lifestyle, right? Conservatism is obviously our political ideology, and we covered that in the first initial episodes, defined that a bit. But and really, all it really means is just protection of your free speech, your individual rights, and making sure that we're adhering to those values. If anything, it just means freedom. We're not really talking about anything convoluted, complicated. We're obviously not pro big government, but yeah, I think everybody's kind of tired of the whole conservative rhetoric. So street conservatism, if we want to move beyond that, will be an interesting thing that we'll dive into, because before I met Professor Dreg, just a quick bit of info for all of you viewers here, or listeners, I should say. This guy is a conservative because, that's how it's done in the streets. Law enforcement ain't going to help you. The government's not going to help you. Do not depend for a second on the United States government to pull you out of the funk that you're in.
School system's not going to do it for you.
Yeah, school system. But yeah, I think that unfortunately we'd be doing people a bigger disservice by providing them with resources that we think, based off of a collectivist mindset, that it's going to help the whole of all Americans, and that's not really the case. So the whole point here is to get into a dialogue where we can distill some traditionally held beliefs, even within conservative circles, that may not necessarily be helping people. Identity politics being one of them, and we kind of touched on it briefly with, Candace Owens a little bit, but we don't have to talk too much about her. But anyways, I wasn't sure. You shared a video with me yesterday about this guy going into the court system, for the Department of Education. And I'm not really sure why he was there. So why don't you tell me a little bit more? And I have a reaction, but my reaction was he was not able to present his case, from what I can tell.
Let me, I'm pulling it up right now.
So, I mean, do you know what that was all about, or what?
No, I mean, if I knew the address, wait, hold on. Counselor, what was the address of the building?
It looked like Civic Center in San Francisco. That's what it looked like.
But was it 50? 50
Golden Gate, I think. Let me say it.
Yeah, so it's 50 Golden Gate or 50 something federal building.
50 Golden Gate, San Francisco. That looks like it is well, I don't know. That doesn't tell me anything, actually.
Well, it's where the judges are, like the federal judges, the Northern District is in. It's the federal court system, so that is actually in San Francisco, the Northern District. But I don't know the exact address. But they have a lot of things in there, like the U.S. Department of Education's offices in there, and other
Right,
crap.
right.
I don't know exactly what's in there, but whatever it is, it's for the feds.
So what was going on with this? Let's give our listeners a bit of context here. What was going on, and like,
Well, see, okay, so long story short, this guy gets a letter from the Department of Education about either his kid or his grandkid. And he's in there to turn in some paperwork. And basically, he's denied access into this building because I guess you need an appointment to talk to somebody.
talk to somebody, yeah.
And according to the paperwork, I mean, because I've not spoken to this guy yet, I'm just going by what the video says. So the guy in the video, basically, he's trying to plead his case like, hey, look, I'm supposed to turn this into the Department of Education. They want me to do something, and, you know, I got to turn it in. I got this letter in the mail, and here's the form, and he's trying to explain it to these people, but they won't let him in because they said, oh, you got to have an appointment and all this other stuff. But on the form, there's no phone number. There's no way to make an appointment other than you have to walk. They only give you the address and, you know, where to drop it off at the form. So that's what he did.
So just to kind of give that some more clarification, this guy received a letter from the Department of Education that he had to show up and talk about it. I mean, what was it for? And as a result,
I have no idea what it's for.
So,
I have no idea.
Yeah, this is kind of abstracted. So he shows up. He's given specific instructions to show up at this federal building to present his case, but he doesn't have an appointment because he wasn't given a time or contact information. He was just given an address, and they wouldn't let him through. Is that really just the basic of the story?
Well, yeah. See, but that's my point. That's how the counselor, because that's the code name for you know who, because you know, I always got to protect everyone's identity.
Yeah.
Just because. So the counselor, this is how she gets her cases. She's just people. Yeah, this is what they do. They say, hey, I you know, my civil rights were violated, and he was like, you could hear him on the video talking about the Bain Act and whatnot. So, but that's why I wanted your take on this video first, because, you know, I'm curious to why you're a conservative, because you're so young. You know what I mean? It's like you're young, and it blows me away how you honestly have a conservative point of view, which is really not normal for someone coming out of the Bay or someone who's in their 20s. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, man, so that's why I wanted your gut reaction to this video.
My gut reaction was just that if he was given specific instructions to show up there and present his case, that should be his right. You know, he should be able to just drop off whatever he needed to be dropped off, especially if he was instructed explicitly to do that. And I think that to be denied the opportunity to be able to fairly present his case, you know, is not something that sits well for me. But again, like I said, even for a lot of people who are listening right now who may be confused by all this, I don't exactly know what's going on. I just know that the basic here is that he's not being heard is all it is.
Yeah. So, well, for me, because like, okay, so when I told the counselor, when she asked me, you know, about this case, what do I think? Just from what I heard over the phone, I was like, no, don't take it. I said, he don't got a case, don't take it. Blah, 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 blah. He just doesn't have a case. You know, he wasn't shot. He'll live, whatever had happened. But when I watched the video, you know, I'm not kidding you. This is the kind of stuff that pisses me off. Because why did these security guards, I know they're Homeland Security. So Homeland Security actually watches all the federal buildings. So Homeland Security didn't allow him access. Okay, that's fine. But what really pissed me off was that they literally called the police. And then the police literally laid hands on him. It doesn't make any two things they shouldn't have done, but they did. One, why would they call the police? That's why you're there. You're Homeland Security. If somebody honestly poses a threat, Aren't you the one supposed to be dealing with that? So you're calling an outside force.
Right.
So we're paying the taxpayers are paying these welfare recipients because remember, anybody who has a government job, that's just fancy welfare. I don't care what position you have, whether you're the mayor or Homeland Security, you're taking welfare. You literally are on the government dole. So that's what the government dole is. It's like, your welfare, just dignified welfare. There's some for some reason, we respect this type of welfare recipient. So these Homeland Security people who literally are supposed, like security is in their name, and they can't handle some guy who is trying to drop off a simple paper. That's all he's trying to do, is drop off a simple paper. These security guys have to call another security guy, the police. And I think these are the federal police. So there's so many different police agencies. It's not even funny. So, the federal police get involved. And then the first thing they do is just like, hey, you got to leave. I'll say, hey, look, I got a right to be here, whatever, which is what people say because, they believe, because it's kind of like you just can't walk onto a military base. You can't. You know what I mean? So I get it where you have to have some sort of ID, some sort of screening process because you just don't want random people walking in and trying to hurt you because you just don't know. So there should be some sort of screening process. But once you can establish this, they should let you in. So like I can go on like the mistakes this guy made because he did.
I think my theory is this. I don't think people know exactly how to deal with uncertainty, especially if it's a government agency, right? This guy was given instructions to show up, drop off his form. But the thing is, higher ups will tell certain people like, hey, you got to go through it this way. My instructions are to not let anybody in the building unless they have explicit contact information and all that, which he wasn't given. He was just instructed to show up. So when there's already an incongruency of instructions, like what the hell do we do? And now you're just being a nuisance. Now it seems like he's frustrated. He's irritated. The first inclination, even though your Homeland Security is like, well, shoot, this guy's getting frustrated. So what do we do? Oh, okay, let's call the feds. He's no threat to you. He just wants to drop off his paperwork and see somebody. But because that's how these agencies are run, where there's so much ins and outs, people think that they're getting results, right? Like, I got to do this. But there's so many rules. And nobody really knows what one department does versus another department. So if they can't solve the problem, they call somebody else, and then they show up, and they're like, what the hell's going on? And they're like, well, he showed up. It's like, so what do? Escort him out? And that's exactly what happened. So if you want my reaction, he was just pushed outside because it's like, I don't know how to handle this, so why don't we handle this in the street?
Yeah, no, but it's...
See what I mean? It's like, that's it. Yeah, because
it's amazing how that happens that way. You would figure.
Haven't you noticed that eventually every type of agreement that never gets reached always gets taken outside? Isn't that funny? but think about that. We talk about street conservatism, right? Why is it that it always resorts to that? It's like, if we can't square this in the building no, that's what I'm saying. It's like, if we can't solve this problem civilly with what we know in our uniforms, why don't we step outside, man? Weirdly enough, it always ends like that. So, long story short, the guy gets kicked out. He doesn't get to drop off his paperwork or see the person that he does.
The lady, some lady, I don't know who she is, but some lady comes down and takes his form.
Oh,
That's why. No, but like if you count, like from what I remember, there has to be 5 police officers and 4 different Homeland Securities. That's 9 people. 9 people who are probably making $100,000 a year, because you got to remember, this is San Francisco.
Wait, I don't know if I have to double check. Sorry.
Wendy, if you're gonna say something, come to the microphone and say it. Really, if that's something that we need to hear.
She's in the other room.
Oh, okay.
Did you hear? But either way, so she can't hear me. But no, it's in San Francisco.
Dude,
this is it because I recognize it.
I think San Francisco may be the greatest city in the United States to be a government worker, but to have a lot of money without doing
Nations
anything.
Building.
What?
He calls it the United Nations building. I don't know why he would call it that.
Well, I mean, this is pretty abstracted, and I think for our listeners, this is not really going to help them because they haven't seen the video. But
yeah,
it's all right.
You would have to. No, wait, hold on. It's 50 United Nations Plaza, which is in San Francisco. But anyway, that's not my point. The point of sharing this video with you, which is on YouTube, is to show you, United Nations Plaza, San Francisco, 50 United Nations Plaza, San Francisco. And it's the federal building, it's the GSA. It's just general services. That's all it is. If this is a GSA building, this is bogus. This is some bullshit. Feces. Yeah. It's insane. So anyway, now that we know exactly where this building is at, it's in San Francisco. So anyway, so long story short, this is why this gets me so bad. Because you have 9 people making $100,000 a year. And I don't know that lady who came down. I don't know how much she makes, but I'm assuming it's like another 100,000. So 9 officers, including Homeland Security and just regular federal police officers, people who couldn't get into the FBI. So you got 9 of those cats, and then another lady who was eating bonbons or something upstairs. So 10 people, that's $1 million worth of salary just to, do what they did. And that's the whole point that, that I've been making yesterday and the day before. The system totally fails us. I have no idea why this guy had to talk to the Department of Education, but what's the purpose of it? If they tell you to do something, you do not have access to speak to them. It's almost like the DMV. You want to go get a driver's license? Good luck. How are you going to get a driver's license? You got to either wait months to get one by making an appointment in advance, or if you walk up to the DMV.
Dude, yeah, you're in California. Getting an ID. I remember going to the Oakland DMV. No, real story. I was at the Oakland DMV once for like 6 hours, and I couldn't get any service. The DMVs in some of these cities in California, you know what I had to do this is a funny story, but I got to tell a story because, that's what I do
go
too.
For it.
So, oh man, this is a great story. But it also shows you the example of government agencies. I moved to Arizona, obviously, from California, and obviously had to get my license renewed, right? Because that's part of the rules. It's like, hey, if you move, you got to notify the DMV within 30 days. And if you don't, you're in real trouble. Now, I will say that I haven't always adhered to that rule. I've moved to states and held on to certain licenses because it's just convenient. I don't have time to go to the DMV. But anyways, what ended up happening was the registration on my car had expired. And actually, I was driving around Arizona with expired California plates for about a month. And the reason for that is because, oh man, this is actually a great story. I had lost the title to my car. Okay, so I couldn't get my car registered in Arizona because I had lost the title. The title is obviously going to stipulate your ability to be able to register. Now, here's the funny part here. I go to the Arizona DMV, and this is over a course of 2 to 3 visits. The lady there tells me, hey, man, we can't do anything for you because your car, you purchased it in California. The only DMV that can issue California titles and registrations is the headquarters there, which is in Sacramento. So can you kind of see where this is going? Can you try to predict what's about to happen here? She said to me, the only way to get a duplicate title is to mail in a form, and if you don't do the right form, guess what? You got to do a different form, and you know how this is going to work, right? It's a long, tedious process. I mail in a form, and it doesn't work. I get no response for 2 weeks. What happens 2 weeks later? A cop pulls me over.
Oh, Jesus.
No. But this is I got to tell the story. He pulls me over and he says, hey, man, you're driving with expired California plates. And I said, I know. I've been trying to get my title because I got to get registered. He's like, yeah, you can't operate a motor vehicle without expired plates. The stupidity in me was I didn't even have the registration from California to show him because it didn't matter. My plates were expired.
Yeah.
So he said, okay, you got to go down to the court office. This actually happened last month, a couple months ago. And he said, you got to pay a fine or show up or do driving school. So, but what I'm trying to say is I ended up, the way I alleviated this problem, and I was on the phone with like DMV people, but dude, they don't pick up the phone. You're on hold for 45 minutes and the person that picks up can't even help you. And I'm trying to get to my point here, but bear with me. So what ended up happening was I had no choice. The only way to get your vehicle registered in Arizona is to have a title. The only way to have the title is to go to the state that the car was purchased in, and hope to God that the DMV headquarters in California will issue you a duplicate title. So I drive 200 miles to Blythe, California. I drive 200 miles in one day, just in the morning. I'm like, okay, that's it. If I get stopped again, I'm screwed, because that's another moving violation. I could lose my license.
Well,
so
I thought they would tow your car too.
Yeah, that too. And I could lose, I could lose a lot. So I go to Blythe, 200 miles away. I paid $300 to get my car registered in California, so at least I don't have expired plates, but it's not registered in Arizona. I drive back to Arizona, or what did I do? No. I get them at the office in Blythe, which is at the California-Arizona border, to fill out another form for another title. And what ended up happening was in 2 weeks, it took 2 weeks for me to get a title in the mail. I finally got it, got my car registered in Arizona, which cost me another $100. And then guess what? I had to show up at the Tempe court, and you know what my fine was?
Oh,
for
God,
a moving
don't
violation?
tell me.
$600. But I because I showed up on time and I pleaded with the person, hey, I worked my skills. I think I got it down to about $200. But dude, like,
that's even $200, dude. I
had no choice. It's either that or it's either that or I go through some other form of disciplinary corrective action.
It was funny how that guy goes, you have to go to traffic school.
Yeah.
Traffic school going to help you with
It's not going to help me, because here's the thing. It's not like I got into an accident or anything. I was just driving with expired plates. And I know that doesn't sound good, but
this
everybody
is why...
drives with expired plates. I saw 3 guys like last week, expired plates, like 2018 plates. You know what I mean?
But I'm telling you now, I got to think of another word.
This is what I'm trying to say. Government agencies, the DMV is one of the worst run organizations.
No, but think about this. Does this apply to all the MJs out there? MJs meaning mojados. MJ, because I don't want to just keep saying wet back or something like that.
Yeah, you can't say that on here. People get offended.
Yeah, so all the MJs, come on. You know what I mean? Come on. Does that apply to them?
No.
Honestly.
No.
Oh, gee, like I got hit. I had a pimp. Well, I mean, it's a Honda Accord, but it was brand new. And some MJ hit me at 3:00 in the morning, or like in front of my house. Boom, barreled into my car, left the license plate because, the car they were driving, he pushed 2 cars in, right? Yeah. And one of them being mine. And the license plate was left behind. And so I called the cops. I said, hey, look, man, there was a hit and run last night. And so, I want you to get this guy so we can get his insurance and get him to pay. And they go, how do you know for sure? I said, because this is the bumper. You know what I mean? That, that was left behind. Yeah. So it turns out, when they told me, they was like, hey, man, this dude's an MJ. So there's really nothing we can do because, he bought the car. He never registered it. He never, and then, so when they went to his house, he said he denied it all. And I'm thinking, how in the heck can he deny it if the license plate is right there in the front of the house? And then, so the cop goes, hey, look, there's nothing we can do. It's a sanctuary, state. And we can't make them do anything because, they don't have a license. They don't have insurance. And so, you're just...
I guess who pays for it because of somebody else's actions?
I did. I had to pay.
Yeah.
So, no, I mean, I got my car, because, I have insurance, all, for like replacements and so it worked out, but, it wasn't perfect and I had to fight a lot. But the thing is, the point is the rules don't apply to them. And,
because some of these illegal immigrants who drive cars and...
Yeah, but that's the point. What are they going to do? So they don't enforce the laws on illegals.
I know.
Because why? It's just too much of a hassle. So what do? They double because, dude, in the old days, why in the heck would you pay $200 for tags? That's the fix-it ticket. It used to be like 10, $20.
Yeah.
And now they're saying, oh, 600, but then you got it reduced to 200. Like, that's some savings. I'm thinking, oh man. See, but that's why, like, man, listening to you makes me want to go back to being an anarchist. Like, that's a total failure of the system.
I know. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not a fan. Dude, the fact that I have to go to California just to get a duplicate title, that's stupid. I had to go and mail in a form at a California DMV. They wouldn't even accept my paperwork at an Arizona DMV. I'm like, what difference does it make? You guys, like, and that's the thing too, is that these agencies,
like, it makes me mad hearing
but
that.
They like to punt. They like to punt. It's like, well, you're from California. You should have figured it out there. And it's like, the hell do you want me to do? Can you imagine if I had moved to New York and I had to get my car registered, but I had expired plates from California? Can you imagine a nightmare that would have been? Because I can't just fly. I've got to, like, get the car registered and do all that stupid stuff.
Do you remember the conversation that we had the other day when I was talking about how cops can't help you? There is nothing a cop do. They can't protect you.
Well, yeah, they can't stop you. They can't stop someone from breaking into your car, just like they can't stop someone from breaking into your house.
Or like they can't stop a wubba from driving into your car and destroying everything. But here's the thing. So what is their real function? Well, in your story, their function was generating revenue. You just got taxed.
Yeah, I got taxed.
They taxed you. They're tax collectors.
It's a fine.
That's what the cops are. That's what the judges are. They're just tax collectors. Nobody, and I mean nobody's going to be hurt by you driving with expired tags. Not one person. Come on, tell me, who were you going to hurt? Were you going to kill a black dude? Seriously, was that what they were worried about? Racism? Were you a racist trying to kill somebody with your illegal tag?
I can't blame the cop. He's following his rules. He loses his job if he doesn't stop me.
What are they?
Meet his quota. He gets screwed.
You just literally said it. He's meeting a quota. And that's what, come on, you can't support a system when the people who are protecting and serving are tax collectors. That's what they are. But that's what creates that hostile, because look, a lot of my friends are cops, and but the cops I know, they're cool cops. Like, they got the cool jobs. You know what I mean? Like, they're the ones that go breaking down doors and go, they do undercover shit. So I mean, they always, if they hear this, they go, dude, why are you always bagging on cops? I'm like, because they're not like you. Like, come on, the majority of the cops, they're tax revenue collectors.
Do you think so since we're on the topic of cops, real quick segue here, do you think cops just shoot black people for sport? Because that's a big thing that people talk about.
No, they shoot them because they're scared as fuck.
Whoa.
Those cops so when you have a special unit type of cop, like a specialty cop, I'll just call them specialty cops. When you have a special, because I hate to say special agent, but if you have a specialty and you're in law enforcement, that technically is pretty dangerous. But every other cop has a more dangerous job than the specialty cops, because those cops have no training and they have no education. So you put them in a dangerous situation where people who know, like, okay, so like in the black communities or in the broke ass communities, wherever is like you see poverty, you'll see this. Everybody's pissed off because they know they're going to have to pay a boatload of money that they can't afford. So they're already pissed off at the cops. These cops with no education, and trust, I mean, I'm not bagging on people with just an AA degree, but if your job only requires you to have an AA degree, and that's what you have to be a police officer, you're not educated. An AA degree is basically saying, I have a sophomore high school education. Because that's basically what it is. If you go back to 1960, an AA degree is equivalent to a high school sophomore, graduation ceremony. I dropped out in the 10th grade. Well, congratulations, you dumb fuck. You got yourself a solid education. Go be a cop. And that's what cops are. Cops have that type of training. Think about this. You are allowed to kill a man with a high school education. And that's why cops are low paid and undereducated. That's a lot of power to give somebody.
But also, they don't know how to handle a dangerous situation, so they act on instinct.
Well, yeah, that's my point. But the most dangerous situation and this, so I was setting it all up. So you have a bunch of broke ass people pissed off that they're going to have to pay a lot more money, and they're uneducated because, look, you got to be honest. People living in the hood or the ghetto, whatever you want to call it, they're uneducated. They have like an 8th grade education. They barely graduated junior high. So you have somebody with a junior high understanding being told what to do with a sophomore education understanding, and then you're going to have trouble because you got 2 uneducated people just going at each other. So when you walk up to the car, come on, that's the most dangerous thing any cop can do because they have no idea what they're going to run into. Yeah. Like not the other day, but this happened within 18 months ago. The highway patrol walked up to a trunk and that dude shot him with the shotgun right in the face. Just boom, killed him right there on the freeway on the 580. You know where the 580 is at? Yeah,
of course. I used to drive that all day, every day.
Yeah, so on that freeway, like by Castro Valley, right? Dude,
yeah.
Cop got shot right in the face. Just boom. It happened like 18 months ago. And, he just walked up, and that's why I keep telling everybody, the worst thing you can do is walk up to somebody's car. You get on your little megaphone that they have, Step
out of the car. Step out of the car with your hands up. I'm not walking up to your window. I'm going to get shot.
No, but think about it. If you don't do that, if you don't tell somebody, hey, look, step out of the car, keep your hands up so I can see him, you're safe. The guy walking up might be embarrassed, but at least everybody's safe because
and they can see your hands and stuff. They make sure
you can see your hands, and then if they do attack you, it's gonna be hands on hands. So it's like fisticuffs.
Well, right, but
there's gonna die from that.
Exactly. Because if you stepped out and you had a gun, they're already gonna arm themselves, and it's like, dude, put it down, or we shoot.
Not just that, but then they're protected because the first couple of rounds. You got metal behind you. Hopefully, the glass is.
Well, it's leverage. It's leverage. It's like that. You're playing. The cops have the home field advantage. They're not next to your car, right? You're the only one who has to actually abide by what they're saying. But dude, that makes sense. Like, I mean.
No, but think about that seriously, because we're putting uneducated people in the most dangerous situation.
But cops, okay, so you can't say that about all cops, though. I mean, some cops are highly educated, and
No, but see the requirements. See, that's like being a nurse. What are the requirements for being an RN? If you're an RN, do you honestly need a bachelor's degree?
No. You just need an RN.
You need an RN license, and basically, you can get one without a degree of any sort. But like when you do all of the education, it's about 3 years worth of college, so you have to qualify for most nursing programs. That's about 18 months of classes. So that's a year and a half. And then you have another 18 months of clinicals. So that's, 18 plus 18 is 36. That's 3 years. And but to be a police officer, the minimum requirements to be a cop is an AA. So I'm not saying there's a lot of cops with PhDs. Like seriously, like a lot of these dudes who do negotiations or people who work in SWAT.
Yeah.
They, not everybody, but I know a couple of dudes that are doctors, in behavioral science and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, hostage negotiation and all that stuff.
Because
complicated work. Right.
Or to talk somebody down from the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, dude.
No, seriously.
No, I'm not joking. I know. I know about those people. Yeah.
So and they're cops, but the point is,
right?
The average cop, is uneducated, and they have an extraordinary amount of power, and I mean power. They can kill you legally, and that kind of power shouldn't be given just to anybody randomly, willy-nilly. Because if we expect a judge who has the same type of power, like they can sentence you to death, and they have, they're all doctors, to be a judge, you just, you have to be extremely educated and understand have a lot of understanding. So, and that's basically, a cop is pretty much like a judge. They're making judgment calls. So if you're a 20-year-old cop, what kind of judgment call is a 20-year-old with an AA capable of making? They're not. And that's why, like I'm totally for cop reform. I mean, if it was up to me, just abolish the whole system. But
No cops. I mean,
no cops, no justice system.
yeah,
Like,
but we talked about you got to enforce the laws somehow. What do you get? A sheriff? Like,
see, we go back to the Wild West, as they say. I don't think there was nothing wrong with the Wild West. They had a sheriff. If there was a dispute, the sheriff handles it right then and there. He's like the judge and jury, and if it was really serious, the system is way too big. People don't have faith in one another. And because and I see how things are handled in the streets, and because people go, yeah, but black on black crime is really bad. It's like, yeah, because they're all uneducated. But if you just tone it back to the 70s and the 80s, black on black crime was not that bad. It just wasn't. And just like white on white crime is not that bad. It wasn't. Whites weren't killing it, because it's amazing how, when you really think about it, when crime, it's like the whites killed the whites, the blacks killed the blacks, and the Asians fight the Asians.
I mean, so let's dive into that a little bit more. Why do you think that happened? I mean, do you think that Rodney King had something to do with that, LA riots, and then all of a sudden now there's just this idea that lots of killings happen in ghettos and neighborhoods and stuff? Okay,
so there's this movie, I think it's called I don't know, it was with Jake Gyllenhaal and some other dude. Pena was his name, the actor. His last name was Pena. He's not really that well known of an actor, but in the old days, and I hate to say things like this, like, what the hell are you guys doing? But in the old days, you could fight a cop. Like, if you wanted to get off, you would fight a cop, and a lot of the cops, they'd be like, if they could take down a big dude, they'll be like, man, I took down this big dude, like I fought a big ass black guy, just knocked him out, you know what I mean? And that's how it used to be. They would take it to the ports, like the car ports.
Yeah.
Just like, hey, look, let's just
fight.
Yeah, let's just go back here. And yeah, that all stopped. Like, yeah, that will never happen today. But in the old days, then you'd respect the cops, because I remember, like, Vinny was white. And oh man, but it was funny because it was like a black cop fighting like a white criminal, and he just fucked up Vinny. Like I think he broke his leg. But we all, nobody got a ticket. You know what I mean? It's just but everybody accepted that. We just did, and because I just remember like another time when it was like Freddie. I don't know if it was Guillermo, because Guillermo was this really weird mod dude. But either way, so like we were ready to go fight, and and I don't know why, but I mean, it's not an important story. But
I think just the big thing is obviously the lack of education, the fact that you give people who are not very smart and probably not the best qualified the ability to be able to kill, the ability to be able to arrest on demand. Because that's the thing. Like, here's the thing. I'm driving with expired tags, right? If he had told me, like, I don't have to do this, but if he had told me to step out of the vehicle, I probably would have to do it. It's just like, dude, like, what's the alternative here? You cuff me and you take me in? So, again, I know that obviously people who talk about, like, cops and respecting the cops and authority, it's like, yes, you just listen to what the cop says, and then you can dispute it later if you think that your rights were violated. But that's the thing. He could have very easily been like, step out of the car, let me see your license. Oh, guess what? And if I didn't know my rights, he probably could have said something like, I am going to repossess your license right now,
or I'm going to take your car.
Or take your car, right?
That's what I was thinking. The whole time I was thinking that they're going to repossess your car, like tow your car.
How can you repossess my car? I've never had any moving violations. I've never run a red light.
They do that all the time in the hood, dude. They just take your car. I don't know what to do with it.
Like, what? You're going to take my car? And they could do that. But what I'm trying to also say is, unfortunately, you combine that, right, with another demographic of people who already are brought up on a culture where they don't respect the cops. Because here's the thing, like, you hear the rhetoric from both the left and the right, and people will talk about, like, I've talked to black police officers, more conservative, and they said that all the violent interactions they have and hostile scuffles they've had have been with black people. Like, black people don't listen to cops. They don't respect the cops. You tell them to stop, they won't stop. This is not me saying it. I'm echoing what other cops have said.
No, but it's the truth, because.
But what I'm trying to say is that's also not the fault of some of these people. It's like you're poorly educated, and your culture teaches you to not respect the cops, which is a vicious cycle because you can't really trust the cops. Like, I get it. You can't really trust the cops. So I don't blame you, but at the same time, like getting into an altercation where it's you or them, like, it could be costly, and you get shot and killed. Like, I'm not denying that cops don't shoot black people. I know that happens. But at the same time, I know it gets inflated with Black Lives Matter.
They don't shoot them because they're black.
Right, but they don't shoot you. That's what I'm trying to say, is that it's not because cops are pigs and racist and just want to eradicate black people. I think it's because you have a combination of a lack of respect for authority as well as the fact that y'all aren't educated. Like, you know what I mean? You act on instinct. And it's like you put the two together, it's not going to be pretty. You're just going to behave and act from a just, a safety level. It's like, dude, I'm not trained for this. I don't know how to handle an altercation like this. I go up to that guy's car. You best believe I have my hand on my gun. It's like I would be doing the same thing. And the windows are all tinted out. There's no lights and stuff. It's like, dude,
but it's true.
If I was a cop, I'd probably be like, I'd be pissing my pants. Like, because it's like that guy probably has a shotgun like under his dashboard. Like, you know what I mean? And that's not an exaggeration. That happens all the time.
This is the saddest thing. Everything you said is true, and that is super sad because we have created a system where everybody fears one another. Seriously, right. Because, of course, and I'm talking about the poor, because, like, if you're rich, if they're patrolling rich neighborhoods, okay, so it goes back to the story that I was going to tell, but yeah, now it's relevant because what I'm saying is this: if you're in a poor neighborhood, the people who are poor are afraid of the cops because, one, they're going to have to pay money, and two, they don't know if they're going to get shot. And the cops are afraid because of, of the facts. The facts are that, people kill each other in the ghetto. Because, whether it's street justice or whatever, the likelihood of getting killed in the ghetto and the likelihood of running into somebody who's mentally ill or the likelihood of running into somebody who's just going to beat your ass is highly more likely in the ghetto versus in a rich neighborhood. And
the worst part is they're going into a ghetto or a neighborhood with a pre-existing prejudice and a fear that, hey, man, the gun rate here, you are far more likely to get shot here. So it's like you already going into it with heightened senses.
Yeah.
And heightened reactionary senses. And dude, like you're a person. You're not going in there like, I'm just trying to make peace with everyone. It's do or die. You go into their neighborhood, guess what? The cops don't play by the rules they're taught. You play by the street rules, which is why people get shot.
No, but that's exactly what this story is about. Like, okay, so like we were cruising with Freddie was driving, and I forgot everybody else. It was just a bunch of soccer playing dudes or whatever. But I had a machete, like the machetes.
Why do you have that?
Dude, I don't know. That was always my weapon of choice. It was just a weird thing. I don't know. But so I had my machete and I knew it. So we got pulled over and Freddie goes, "Oh man, I don't got tags." And I'm thinking, you motherfucker, man. It's like, I have stuff in the car. So, and there was 4 of us in the car. So either way, when we get pulled over, and I was just always a smart kid because of course I'm homeless, da-da-da-da-da. So, my brain is spinning and I'm like, look, I'll get us out of this. So, so the cop goes, "Hey, everybody get out." And I'm like, "Why? Why are you stopping us?" I said, "You have to tell us why you're investigating us. Why you're investigating us?" "Well, he doesn't have tags." I said, "Well, then give him a ticket and then let us go because we're not doing anything bad other than he doesn't have tags." And they said, "No, we have a right." I said, "You guys look suspicious." And I'm like, "What do you mean we look suspicious?" "Well, this is the East Side. And when you're in the East Side, you got to be careful." And right when he said that, I jumped down his throat. And I said, "If you were in Willow Glen, would you say that? If you were, because like at the time, South Side was very white." I said, "If you're on the South Side, would you say that on the South Side?" I said, "That's racist." And da-da-da-da-da. And then I said, "You're just trying to kill us." And I said, "Go." And then I started yelling out names for like because at the time there was a lot of gangs. And if you knew everybody in the gangs, I said, go get this guy, that guy, that. I said, tell them they're trying to, they're going to try to kill us. And then within like 5 minutes, you see about 100 to 150 people just all outside just watching. It was like massively huge, like a big ass group of people. And they go, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I say, hey man, because they're saying because they're in the east side, they have a right to stop us, da 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 da. And they're gonna try to, do this and do that, just talking crazy. And I said, this dude's being racist. He said it. He literally said because he's on the east side that he has to do this and do that. And oh man, so then this guy was on his phone. And well, it wasn't, those stupid
walkie-talkies.
Yeah, but I forgot what they call him a CAD. So he was on his CAD, and anyway, so long story short, the captain came down, and then me and the captain were debating, and the dude was black. I'm like, and he goes, well, no, you're like, I don't know how he turned it around because I'm just a kid. So he turned it around. And he goes, now you're being racist against us. I was like, nah. He started it. And I'm just reiterating what he said, and then but nothing happened. But we didn't get searched, and I was detained for like maybe an hour and a half, and everybody was just going to the back of the police car. You okay? You okay? It's like, yeah, they didn't do anything, but they want to, and that was the whole thing. So, but it was a different time where people could talk, and that's what got me mad about that video. There's no talking. He automatically just laid hands on that dude and just tossed him out. And I'm thinking, see, now, if this would have happened 20, 30 years ago, we would have been fighting if that would have happened, because you are always allowed to talk to the police. That's their job. Their job was to speak. Their job was to talk and de-escalate a situation.
Right.
I mean,
but they don't communicate now. It's just
guns. No, but you listen to
right?
Sean Hannity, and this is why, I'm not saying that they're fake, but man, it's hard to not call them fake. Like, if you're an honest to God, true conservative, you would know you never give anybody authority over you. So whenever I hear a conservative say something like, when I get pulled over, just do what they say. Just do what they say. It's like, no, why wouldn't you give up your own sovereignty to anybody? And if you're willing to do that, then you're not a conservative. Why? Because conservative people are always about protecting themselves and protecting the people around them. So whenever I hear Sean Hannity or somebody saying, oh, just do what they say, no, you should talk to people and always defend your rights. Because if you honestly believe in the Constitution, or if you, I wanted to ask you questions about that. This is what I wanted to ask you. More about why you're a conservative, but I also kind of want to touch a little bit about your faith, because, because I don't sleep at night. So every once in a while, I'll watch this show called The Shepherd's Chapel.
The Shepherd's Chapel.
Yeah, it's this weird show that comes on like at 4:00 in the morning. It's just like, I think the dude is dead, but he used to be a Marine, and he's a pastor somewhere in Arkansas. And I guess he's broadcasted nationwide, and he tells these crazy stories, but he reminds me of you. You know what I mean? So, and I'm thinking, I never got to talk to this pastor, but I'm thinking, I wonder if that's why you guys are conservative. Like, because when I hear these stories, I'm thinking, man, this sounds like the streets. You know what I mean? It's like there's a distinct parallel that's almost like if you guys live in identical parallel universes, except for nothing bad happens. I mean, bad things happen, but not like how it happens here. Like in the streets, nobody has faith. Nobody, it's just constant fighting. There's no understanding. It's a vicious cycle that never ends. But then you seem like at peace with all of this crap. And because just watching this still makes me angry. So that's why I wanted to ask you, how do you maintain your cool and all that other stuff? It's just amazing to me to just listen to you and just watch you just like be all calm and cool, and you can articulate well. So what I mean?
I think it's a variety of different things. To address the first thing that you just talked about, which is like the situation where this guy was, someone put his hands on him and threw him out, right? I think that for one thing comes down to inherent prejudice regardless. So regardless of how you look at it, if you were more of a government worker and you saw someone causing a scene and they were being irritable, then to them they're going, okay, whatever, that was the right thing to do, even though it wasn't the right thing to do because you guys didn't communicate. You just threw him out. Now, if you look at it from the perspective of the guy who was just trying to drop off his forms like he was instructed to and wasn't given the best opportunity possible, well, then that's an injustice. So that's going to anger you. That's going to make it. What I see is both. And I think that's why when I had an initial reaction, we talked about this in the beginning, I was like, I don't have a reaction. I think it looks like a crappy situation, but I also don't know, keyword there, I don't know enough. I don't know. Like, it's very, very easy because like when the video started, it looked like it started with him in the building. It started like you don't know if he was already there for 5 minutes prior to starting the recording, 10 minutes prior to starting the recording. So that's what I'm trying to say. And to answer your first question about like, dude, how does this make you feel? Because it angers some people, and some people are just like, I don't know enough. So, and I usually take more of the position where it's like, if I don't have all the information, man, I'm not going to react. It's so easy for people to like see a guy on Unity.
How did you develop that? See, that's my question. That's my real question.
I'm getting there. That's you asked a long-winded question, so I'm going to give you a long-winded answer. But like, for example, like let me kind of evaluate on this further, right? Like you see this on Muni all the time. Some kids playing his music really loud, right? He's told to stop. But then the recording starts when a guy, you start to see an altercation between the kid, a couple of dudes trying to throw him off the train. That happened in San Francisco. There's a video of that online. Guy plays hip hop music. You know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're on the train and you're playing your music cranked all the way up, and it's like really crappy trap music. Guys telling you to stop. But the thing is, the video starts at a point where he's told to stop. He doesn't stop. And then it cuts off and he's being thrown off the train. And he's like, why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me? Racist. It's like, because you're being a prick. Like, you know what? I'm glad they throwed your ass out. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, that sounds shitty, man. But like you did not listen. But okay. So to kind of tie it back to your original question, I don't feel that people who act that way, like to throw him off, was the best option. But at the same time, if he was disturbing everybody else's peace, it's like, dude, you have a right to throw off. So what I'm trying to say is I don't have a side. I don't have a dog in this fight. I look at that and I go, okay, you overreacted. Maybe you don't have to throw him off. But at the same time, I would have smacked the crap out of that dude. Like, dude, shut your music off. You're annoying everybody. So now to answer the last part of your question is like, how do I develop that? Because I've been very, very right and I've been very, very wrong. I think that's the best way to put it. You know what I mean? And when I've been wrong, I acknowledge that I'm wrong. The problem is a lot of people who develop that kind of inherent sense of like, oh, this is how it should be done, this is how I feel, is because you didn't fully investigate and then also accept defeat when you were wrong. So I've been very right, in calling my situation about how I think things are playing out. If it's like an altercation between two people, I've made theories and gone, okay, this is what happens. But I've also been very wrong. So I've been taught to evaluate as best I can.
No, but
without being prejudicial. Like, dude, you're a lawyer. Like, you know this stuff, man. Like,
no. I'm not kidding you. What you said takes decades to develop. Like, you basically said, when I'm right, I know I'm right. But when I'm wrong, I admit that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And that, man, it takes a lot of men decades. Like, they're like 80 before they develop that sense of no, but it's like that's hard wisdom to get. And that's why I'm like, where does that come from? Because you're only like 25 or something.
24.
So, you know what I mean? It's like, man,
But I think it's, if it's a blessing like that, it's a gift. I think it came from God. I got to thank him for that. It also came from my upbringing. I'd have to acknowledge that as well. But I think, it's a blessing. I've been granted discernment and wisdom, but I've also lived through some stuff. Like, not like you. You've gone through some stuff, but we.
Yeah, I learned shit.
Okay, so like, to tell everybody,
I haven't learned shit
the reason why we talk about this, and it almost feels like we're both from completely different worlds, like completely different worlds, completely different generations. Why we get along is because there are different roots to conservative values. When you discover that, you can meet somewhere in the middle because it's like, you took this path. you had been homeless, you know, doing all kinds of illegal stuff, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's like you got there, and I got there from trauma. I got there from trauma, from being tested and stuff like that. And I think that that's fine because every human being who's a true conservative who understands it goes through a process like that. And that's my best answer for you is like, I've been very right in the past and I've been very wrong. And when I say I've been very wrong, I've been like, dude, people were hurt and crushed and you screwed some people over because you were wrong. And like understanding the balance between that and knowing that when you look at things, you should try to be as objective as possible.
I'm impressed with you. Like, because dude, when you wrong somebody, most people, me included, I say, that's life. They'll get over it. No, seriously, that's how you do it. That's that. I mean, but yeah, it's amazing. But politicians still do this to this day. Yeah. I've met judges. I've met a ton of people who think that way. They think, well, it's how it is. You know, it's just
that's see, you know why when I see that, Steve, I'm going to say this right now. And this is a line that I don't cross. It's a hard line for me. When you say that's what it is, you absolve yourself of your wrongdoing. That's why it relates back to faith. Because, dude, if you make a mistake, you made a mistake. You sinned or you made a mistake here. You got to accept responsibility for it. When politicians, when judges, when police officers say, that's the way it is. That's how it is. That's a cop-out.
Yeah.
How is that a conservative value? Because you don't accept responsibility for your actions. That's the problem here, is that there's philosophical conservatism with political ideology. It's like, oh, the system's flawed. It's corrupt, but I believe in this. It's like, if you really are, then you know that everything that you are is also as a result of your actions. That's why people say it's choice, not prejudice. It's choice. If you want to get out of it, freaking own up. And it's not. It takes some humility too, dude. It's like I've been very, very wrong. Like I've been like thinking I know everything, and I don't. I absolutely do not know everything. I just know what I know up until this point. You know, it's like a lot of the stuff I talk about. It's like, okay, it's from firsthand experience. There's some facts, but we also have to know that like individual experiences and prejudice, you see it through your own filtered lenses, and it's like, dude, I'm a black man. I've dealt with this, and I know that it's not the case, but I was dealt a shit hand. Like I was dealt a bad hand, and I can't let that be the reason why if I see someone putting their hands on me, I get angry, like the first instinct. Dude, I also came from a household where anger was very prevalent, like reactionary. Like I won't name who, but I had family members, people who were close with me, where their first reaction, their first instinct was to yell and blame somebody. And it's like, is that how you deal with all your problems? You just start yelling and screaming?
No, but that's how it. No, yeah, I feel you on that. No, I feel you on that one.
But do you see what I'm saying, though? It's like that is conservatism, which means you are also the result of your actions.
Yeah, but I think yours is probably more special than.
It's not. It's just knowing that, dude, like you screwed up. Like
no, but I'm not. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like and I hate to keep going back to Sean Hannity and things like that, but people like that will say that. They'll say that's life. That's how it is. The system's not perfect. But the guys who actually started the Constitution, those dudes felt that it was better to have 1 million people who were guilty be free than ever arresting one man, than having one innocent man arrested. That's how strongly they felt about personal liberty.